Welcome, and thank you for joining for another whiskey review. Today, we're going to take a look at old Ardbegs. Old Ardbegs, Dustin.
Yep.
All the oldest ones we get our hands on, buddy.
Without going to an auction, this is as good as it's going to get.
Good as it's going to get. We tried to get Lord of the Isles, but he wouldn't show up. Didn't return my RSVP. So here we are.
We were debating the 17 year the other day, but it's 40%. We just couldn't pull the trigger at those prices.
But I tell you what we do have. We have the 19, the first version of it, from 2020, correct? 2019? 2020? I don't know. The first version of the 19.
It says on the label.
Yes, and this will be the old, or the first time, this is the oldest whiskey of the new distillate. Then we also have the Ardbeg 21 that was released probably 3 or 4 years ago. Ardbeg 22, Ardbeg 23, and the new Ardbeg 25. So we got all old Ardbegs. Of course, the 21, 22, 23, and 25 are the old distillate. This 19 is the new distillate. This is a big whiskey review, Dustin.
This is probably the biggest review we've ever done, Mike. This is the most whiskey we've ever drank, and
Five whiskeys, my friend. So we have them all lined up here, and we're going to go through them left to right. So how our glasses are laid out, or just how these are laid out here. We got younger, moving older, from our right, your left, our right. I don't know if that makes sense, but let's get started.
yeah, I guess we're going to rank them, and we'll give you kind of our overall thoughts when we're done.
Yeah, of all the whiskeys. All right, so we'll start with the 19, the youngest whiskey. Yep. We're just going to do nose at first, then we'll go into taste, throw some water in it, have a good time.
Lemon, lime, sherry, peat.
Lemon, lime, sherry, peat. Better version of the 10.
Yeah. I mean, there's a little bit of chili powder on there, maybe. Sure. There's a little spice. Mike, it's pleasant, a little waxy.
Yeah, the flavors are nice and melted, integrated together well. Lovely offering by Ardbeg and the new distillate.
Yep.
The 21, which was my first old Ardbeg I ever had. Old distillate. Oh man, I tell you what, you can just tell it smells different.
Completely different profile. It's got like this earthiness to it that's not there on the 19. Mm-hmm. There's definitely more oak.
More oak. It's a richer smoke.
Yeah.
So with Ardbeg in general, like vanilla, lemon, lime is kind of and smoke is some standard notes. But this one here, besides that, what really stands out to me is it's fruity. It's sweeter. It's very Ardbeg malt sweetness.
I don't think it's sweeter than the last one, though, because the last one did have the sherry notes coming through.
I don't know.
This one's more earthy to me.
It's earthy, but the sweetness goes a little higher. It's a higher peak of sweetness. And there's a little bit of banana in this one, too.
I'm going to go the other way. I think this one's got less sweet, but you're right, there's some banana. Mm-hmm. And it's more of a waxy fruit, whereas the other one was more vibrant, rich, like fresh fruits. As fresh as an Ardbeg is going to be, mind you. This is more waxy. And
kind of like the more saltier notes almost come off it's like a popcorn to me with this Ardbeg 21.
It's more medicinal too.
Good smell.
Overall, nice whiskey. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think I probably prefer the 19.
Mm-hmm. I think
it's a richer, fuller nose.
19 to me is a little more exciting, a little more inviting, but the 21 is better whiskey.
Better whiskey. I would definitely say it's a better whiskey. Ooh, 22 is different.
Now we got candy coming in here. All of a sudden, this is coming off. Now again, it's got all the same notes as that 21 really had. I think the difference is it's candy coming out.
It's almost. I think this 21 may have had a finishing, some other type of cast that kind of, pumped up the sweetness and pumped up the malt.
Or wasn't the talk maybe that the 22 they finished it last year like a first fill bourbon?
Something to that extent.
I was thinking I've heard something like that. Yeah.
I've heard rumors. Nothing concrete.
God, I'm getting oak and funky, like moss. Big time here.
Yeah, wet moss on stone. There is some wet stone to that too.
Mineral. Oh yeah, stone. Yeah, that's a good note.
It's mineral note.
It's like you're out by the pond, there's some moss covering up the rocks and you're skipping stones or something.
Yeah, very mineral forward.
But very sweet.
Clean mineral.
Yes, this is the cleanest of the 3 so far, I think.
For sure.
Yeah, whereas the 19's got a little bit of youth character and it's got kind of like some, I don't know.
It's a few off-putting things.
There's some off-putting notes. The 21's got a bit of a funk coating to it. This one brings in the sweetness and brings in the same refinement.
Yeah, I would say as we go along, they're getting on the nose. They're getting better.
They are so far, yes. And I've got a feeling the 23 may continue this trend.
All right, 23-year-old. This one probably has the biggest wallop of sherry in it.
Yeah.
Now, I just opened the bottle of the 23. I've had the 21 open just today. We've had this a little bit open where the 19, 22, and 25 have been open for some time.
Yeah, I mean, the 22's been open for years and years. The 19's pushing it too.
I tell you what, you can pick up that extra sherry in the 23 instantly. It's so much darker than these other ones.
I don't know if it's more sherry than the 19 though.
Let's go back to it.
The 19 comes off so much younger.
Yeah, the color is way different.
The 19 comes off so much younger, but I do think it's got more sherry.
I don't know, the 19, the
this
distillate's snappier and harsher.
Yeah, no, the distillate's. The more I go back to the 19, the less I like it because it's just so
It's
obvious
harsh.
that the distillate is just not.
The same.
No, not
Yeah.
the same at all. But
Yeah, going back to this 23, I still kind of get that wet stone note, but I also get the metallic note that Ardbeg's kind of known for.
yeah, I mean, the 21 versus 23 actually are really similar, with that sherry really being kind of the difference. And there's a little bit more peat moss funk in the 21, whereas the 23, again, slightly more refined. The 22 versus 23, the 22 actually comes off as the more sophisticated whiskey right now to me. But also, the 22 has been open a while, so that's probably playing a role.
Yeah, we'll get back to that, but I don't disagree with you. I feel like the 22 is definitely the sweetest, most candied of the three.
But it's also it's the cleanest. It's the most like
rounded.
Yeah.
I know that came out after the 23, which is weird as far as the time frame, as far as the age statements, but
Yeah.
because I believe all these were still the old Chevis casks.
Yeah,
they
but
bought
it
back.
could have had a couple years of Chevis casks because these were all also made during that kind of like downtime where Ardbeg was not really open, but the people over there from Lefroy were coming in and running the still just to keep things from rusting.
Yeah, just filling some barrels.
Ooh, you ready for the 25 there, Mike?
Yeah, let's get to the 25.
Whew. It is smoky, man.
Now, earlier we said the 22 was the cleanest smell. The 25 is the cleanest smell. But you're right; it's also the smokiest of the five by far.
This is like you walked into an old, like a room that's got like an old, bookshelf with, just leather books. It's that and smoke. Like somebody's been smoking a pipe or something in there.
Yeah,
No, not a pipe. It's a cigar, a nice cigar.
Yeah, I agree. They're smoking something in a library. It's almost like when J.R.R. Tolkien wrote Lord of the Rings. I just imagine like this study that he's in. He's got some, old furniture, an old rug on hardwood floors with some old leather bound books in there.
Or for some reason somebody brought in like an oak. It's got a wood stove in there, and it's just using really clean oak to heat it maybe.
I almost feel like the 25 is it's obviously the oldest whiskey. It's the smokiest whiskey. But as far as the different components of it, it's definitely the hardest to unravel. I don't want to call it the simplest, but it's the hardest to unravel out of all five of these.
It is. I mean, it is the most straightforward initially. Now, as we say this, I'm starting to pick up some of that citrus fruit. It's there, but it's especially when you've been going back and forth with these much more lemon, lime, citrus, explosive whiskeys. This one, it's much more subtle. It's much more hidden. It's way back there.
Oh, but it smells so much older.
Yeah,
considerably.
You know what's interesting, Mike, is these three whiskeys. If you had me nose them, I'd say yeah, that's all part of the same series. It wouldn't shock me if this was just an annual release that they tried to get pretty close to being the same.
You're talking about the 21, 22, and 23?
Yeah.
Yep.
Whereas when I get to the 19, it's a whole different whiskey.
And so is the 25.
And the 25 is equally as just a unique, different whiskey.
Yeah, the 21, 22, and 23, you can tell are all cut from a similar cloth.
Very similar. I mean, it really makes me wonder what the story on the 25 really is. Is there, because they haven't had enough time to get a 25-year-old with the new distillate. So it's got to be old distillate, but man, they must have done something different with these casks.
Or it's just like I've always said, man, once whiskeys at 21 are older whiskeys, it's old whiskey.
Yeah.
If it's 21-year-old whiskey, it's old whiskey. By the time you get 25, that's really old whiskey. Like, not a lot of casks can take a whiskey that far.
Yeah.
So it's special casks to begin with to even make it that far.
Yep. Absolutely. Very true.
And probably we're saying all of these are basically the same ABV. They're all 46 even or 46 2 or 3 or 4. They're all very similar as far as ABV.
Yeah.
So a very apt comparison, really.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's a great way to really understand. Unfortunately, we did have the distillate change, different stills even.
And it's obvious.
It is. It's painfully obvious that there's. Also, 19 years old, Mike. That's really not where I start thinking old whiskey.
That's the edge of
it's where
well-aged.
It should be.
Yeah.
But I tell you what, 18-year-old whiskeys compared to something in the 20s are usually substantially more youthful.
I agree. You still have that bite of youth to me when you're at 18 years old, and this 19-year-old is no different in that regard.
Yeah, I mean, this makes me think this new Ardbeg distillate may need to go 30 years before it gets to really epic whiskeys. Yeah. I'm hoping I'm wrong. There's going to be some really great casks that aren't single casks that sell for $2,000-$3,000, which is what we're seeing these days for 10-year-old or 15-year-old Ardbeg single casks.
I know, rough.
Yeah.
So let's get in the taste here, Dustin. Let's go with the 19 first, and let's see what we're thinking. Again, it's an aggressive smell for sure. What are you picking up on the palate?
It's spicy, much more so than I'm used to with these Ardbegs. Like there is like a chili powder type note going on. Lemon lime's there. I'm getting a bit of chocolate note, probably from the sherry casks that are in there. And then, we're getting a little bit of menthol, not quite mint. Decent smoke.
Yep.
Earthy notes, peaty notes, clearly Ardbeg.
Still a bit sharp. But there's some alcohol sharpness to this, which we mentioned earlier, 17, 18, 19-year-old whiskey, they still have some of the sharpness of youth, but this feels pretty sharp to me for being 19 years old. I would expect it to be more rounded.
Yeah, and my guess is, Mike, they're using a lot of very, very used barrels in this cask. I got a feeling they used a few pretty pungent sherry casks, but the bulk of it's probably second and third fill bourbon casks. And what they've tried to do is they wanted to save some of that Ardbeg punch that people like in the Wee Beastie, the Tin.
There's some punch to it.
The Corey Vrecken. Even the Oogie would agree. They're trying to save some of that punch, and I don't think that was the right direction with the 19-year-old whiskey.
Well, they probably didn't want to make it boring.
Also,
so they probably want to make it snappy.
Also, I'm guessing they're only about maybe 20, 21-year-old whiskey is the oldest of the new distillate. So they also may have had kind of limited cask options.
Oh, I do.
Because they may not have realized that that 19 was going to be when they decided to start doing an age statement. Back, 19 years ago when they were making these.
No, they didn't have. And maybe they were going to make a 21-year-old, like you said, but it didn't come off that way. So they just dumbed it down to a 19 or just something. Ardbeg is, they're gimmicky.
They're gimmicky. That's really what it is.
So 19 is an odd age statement.
Yeah.
Just in general. All right, let's move over here to the 21. Let's see how this one tastes. Give it one more smell. Again, the big note I pick up from here, going from the 19, is you get banana, and you just get that older distillate, which just comes off more aristocratic and refined, just in general.
It's creamier and earthier too. To me, this is actually a little bit more peaty, whereas 19 maybe has a hint more smoke. But ultimately, I'm really just looking for nice words to say about an inferior distillate on the 19. On the nose, we'll get in. The palate sometimes will change the way you think about these things.
Well, I'll tell you what. Nothing harsh about that whiskey whatsoever. Beautiful. Besides the smoke and all those things, again, with this 20, I've always gotten this salty popcorn note on it. That really comes out on the palate. The smoke is, you're right, earthier. It's an earthier smoke. When you were saying the 21's an earthier whiskey, now I'm really on the palate. I'm really there with you on that comment. Darker. I think this is just all bourbon, the 21.
That's my understanding.
Yeah, but it comes off it comes off almost earthier and darker than the 19 does. Now, again, there's some sharp flavors on the 19 that make me think, okay, definitely sherry cask. But man, this just feels like it's better wood in general on this 21 compared to the 19.
Yeah, little acidity, little slight bite that you could, if you're being very picky, you could say are slight off notes here. But overall, yeah, it's much more refined. It's much more oily, much more viscous, much more mouth coating. It's smokier. On the nose, I was kind of thinking the 19 had a little more smoke, perhaps. This was more earthy peat. No, on the smoke level has definitely gone up a notch. The fruitiness here is not quite what I was expecting, and that's probably because...
It's not really very fruity.
And that's probably because we're coming off of a more sherried finished cask that we're not getting as much, because we had it earlier today, Mike, just to kind of get me acclimated, because I hadn't had the 21 ever, actually. It's my first day having the 21. I've had the rest of the series. So I hadn't had this one, and I wanted to make sure, before we came in, I had an idea. And I think the comparison here, it's taken away that with the sherry casks, but the fruit's not a dominant note on here. It's a good solid note that Ardbeg brings.
Yeah, there's acidic notes, lemon lime to some degree, and there's a bit that banana note, but really it's soft and rounded from there. Really that's about it.
Yeah, beautiful, rich, sophisticated Ardbeg.
All right, let's get to the hardest bottle of all of them to find, the 22 year. Going for this again. This 22 probably, along with the 25, were my two best in nosing of the 5 so far.
So much sweeter, so much fruitier. Lemon, lime. It actually is reminding me a lot of that 34-year-old Kalila that I've brought over here, the 1984 distillate. And actually reminding me a little bit of like a Port Charlotte as well. Not Port Charlotte, Port Ellen.
Yeah, there's a real fruity note to this, and something you're right. I get with old Taliskers, old Kalilas, and when I say old, I'm talking 30-year-old Talisker and Kalilas.
Yeah.
25, 30-year-old Talisker and Kalilas. So yeah, that really nice tropical fruit note. You're really getting that in the 22. Probably the sweetest as far as like a candied, sugary sweetness of all of them.
Not a single off note in that whiskey, Mike.
No, it's a beautiful whiskey.
It's beautiful. It's refined. It's perfect. I mean, it is genuinely a perfect whiskey. And I will say this: it's a little less peaty, smoky than the 21.
Yeah, it's the least smoky of the ones we've had so far.
Now, it's also the one that's been open the longest, so that's probably playing a little role. But
sure, it's the most work.
But I remember your review where you reviewed this exact same bottle from almost 2 years ago.
Yeah,
I mean, almost
it was a long time.
Yeah. And it's really weird kicking around the same notes here.
Yes.
In fact, I watched it about a week ago knowing we were going to do this. And I was like, yep, I'm right there with Mike. I just think it's gotten a little sweeter, a little more fruity.
Yeah, I've always been a big fan of the 22. You recently picked up another bottle for me, which I was really happy to get my hands on.
Yeah, and I went back to the store. They're sold out now because I actually changed my mind and went to go get one. And I was like, darn it.
I told you to buy that one.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to 23. As far as the color of the whiskey, probably the darkest of all of them.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. It's got the most sherry cask finishing in it, and it's the oldest of the sherry cask ones because the other one's at 19.
Yeah, I can tell you what, you definitely pick up that sherry cask on the smell too. Comparatively, man, it's the longer it sits there, the more it becomes pretty obvious. What are you picking up about?
Oh, it opens up just straight sherry. Beautiful, beautiful sherry and peat. You know, and if you like the Ugadale, this is such a richer, more refined version. This is earthier though than the 22. It's got a little bit more funk, bitterness, astringencies there. The smoke on the finish is also higher on this one than the 22.
Yeah, I was going to say, it reminds me a lot of the Ugadale. It reminds me of just the best version of what Ardbeg Ugadale could be. I think I said that when I reviewed it individually, but that sherry cask is right there. That deep, rich, dark chocolate, along with just that smoke and sugar, man. If you like Ugadale over the 10 and over the Corey Vrecken, I would suggest this one over the other 20-somethings.
Yep.
That one is just by far the darkest and richest of all of those, and probably of all 5 of them, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, it's a hitter, man, for sure.
Oh, yeah, I tell you what, again, you get a little bit of that metallic, too, and again, I get more metallic off that Ardbeg 23 than I do any other Ardbeg.
It's got some notes that I think you could nitpick.
You could call them off.
You could definitely nitpick this one. It is much more earthy and a little less refined than the 22. In fact,
actually might be the least refined other than the 19.
Oh, we might have to go back to the 21 and do the 21-23 comparison on refinement.
Yeah, no, but I agree. It's punchier. It's probably the second punchiest whiskey behind the 19, in my opinion, as far as the palate.
Man, I'm getting banana custard big time on that 21 right now.
I told you, man, banana in that 21. Banana popcorn.
Well, the popcorn I get on the palate, on the nose, I'm getting the custard. Although, yeah, you could honestly buttered popcorn and custard. It's like you ever watch Charlotte's Web as a kid?
Yeah.
You know that song like After the Fair where he's talking about all the junk food and stuff there?
Yeah, I vaguely, but yeah, I know it was a musical.
I definitely couldn't sing it back to you here, but it's reminding me of the Fat Rat talking about the popcorn and the fair food. Yeah, the fair food. Like it just got me thinking right about that stuff.
Yeah, taffy almost.
Yeah.
All right, let's get this beautiful 25.
God, it's smoky.
This 25 is absolutely the smokiest Ardbeg I've ever nosed in my life. Because people always, I hear people say this. Some novice whiskey drinkers will say, peated whiskeys, especially Islas, the smoke dissipates with time. And I'm sure with some casks it does, but I'm telling you, some of the smokiest whiskeys I've ever tried in my life are 23, 24, 25, 30 years old whiskey.
Yeah.
And this is exactly what I'm talking about. This is the smokiest Ardbeg I've ever nosed.
So it's instantly jumping out at me, Mike, as, first off, smoke. But then I'm getting like this lilac soap and smoke thing going on. And then I'm getting this rich oak And the finish, first off, the finish is the longest of any of these. And it's because of the oak and smoke just won't go anywhere. But there's there's this huge spiciness that it's like barbecued something where you're just like, it won't go away.
It's almost like the cedar plank that you had put like brisket on or something like that.
Yes.
But it's sugary, it is sweet, it is incredibly smoky. It's a bonfire smoke to me. Mm-hmm. It's not really medicinal. It's not that vegetal smoke sometimes that I'll get. It is just pure liquid bonfire smoke. It's not peat. Mm-hmm. It is smoke.
Yeah.
Almost like, if I could, it's like you're walking through a fog. It's that smoky.
Yeah, and you're a firefighter running in right in the building. It's intense.
Yeah, it just oaks burning all around you. But I'm not getting a lot of spice, as you would think, with that amount of smoke on it.
I'm getting one spice note, and it's intense. But I'm not getting, like, on the palate. Near the finish, I'm getting this one intense spice. And maybe it's just oak spice. It's not like I'm getting, like, oh, there's allspice in here. There's cinnamon, or, like, there's some kind of, like...
The house has been burnt down.
Yeah, it's not pepper. It's not salt. I don't know what it is. It's wood spice, I guess.
The house has been burnt down.
But it's intense.
Mm-hmm. All right, Dustin, so we've kind of taken a look at all these. So we've nosed them, tasted them, we put some water in them.
Yeah, I think what we need to do, Mike, is I don't want to go back through the nose and palate on the water because we got 5 of them.
Right. What do you want to do?
But let's, I think we got a couple things I think we should do. One is I think we should do a comparison of 21 and 23.
Okay.
Because we both were getting some notes there.
Okay.
So when we go back, what are you getting that really differentiates these two on the nose, Mike?
The 23 is darker. The sherry notes there's a bit of a dark fruit note on the 23, to where on the 21, I'm getting banana and I'm getting popcorn, salted popcorn, maybe a bit of caramel to it. The 23, the things that are standing out, like I said, is that dark sherry note and this metallic note, almost like tinfoil.
That's a good name, yeah, tinfoil. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I'm also jumping in, because I'm right with you on the nose, and I'm just kind of stepping into the palate too, because again, I think you nailed exactly what I was getting there. Mm-hmm. And on the palate, the tinfoil gets into the palate on 23, and it's a little off-putting. The 21 is buttery.
Yeah, but again, like salted butter popcorn, caramel butter popcorn.
I got that earlier today, and I didn't make that comment to you. Because at first I was looking for salted popcorn, but it's actually buttered popcorn.
You're right. It's a better way to say it.
And it's got that movie theater, like the stuff they pump, which is kind of artificial and weird, but...
It tastes fantastic.
Yeah, I don't know that I expected it here, but really interesting. Man.
I don't even know really how to I'm going to go through and I'm going to throw out scores and stuff like that, but here's my general thoughts. The 19 is the sharpest. It probably has the highest peaks as far as flavor, but I'm not saying that in a good way. It's the least of all 5 of these whiskeys. The 21 to me isn't overly exciting, but I love I love the viscosity. I love the oiliness of the 21. I love that buttered popcorn with that banana. I think it's beautiful.
Might be the richest of the lineup.
It is. Taste-wise,
probably
is the richest. The 22 is probably the most enjoyable, I would say. Enjoyable nose, enjoyable taste. Like this 22, like you said before, there's nothing off-putting about this 22. It's beautiful, it's balanced, it's nuanced. It's just, it's almost a perfect Ardbeg when I think of Ardbeg.
Ooh, now that I'm going back to it, take another step of that one, Mike. The smoke really just came out. The smoke was a little lacking earlier. Smoke really came out now.
Sure, but isn't it smoky as the 25?
Well, no. But earlier I thought the 21 and 23 were more smoky. I just did the 21, 23 this now.
21, 22, 23, they're all a similar smoke level in my opinion.
When I first went through, like I said, I was thinking that these were 9s, this one was 7.5. Now, this one might actually be a 9.1.
Just
past it.
And then when you go to the 23, after nosing the 21 and the 22, when you go to the 23, you can pick up a flaw or two with the 23. I came into this, as you know, thinking the 23 would probably be my favorite. It is the 4th best whiskey here.
Well, here, let me just do this one.
4th.
Expectations. What was your ranking when you came in here? expectation-wise?
I was expecting the 25 and the 23 to be around a 90. I was expecting the 22 to be around an 89. I was expecting the 21 to be around an 87. I was expecting 19 to be around an 85.
So my expectation in order was 23, 22, 25, 21, 19.
Oh, just as far as general order? Yeah, I expected the 23 to be my favorite, probably followed by the 25, 22, 21, and 19.
Now I can tell you, I did a blind about a week ago with the 22, the 25, two 19s, a grooves, a scorched, and just to make sure I wasn't losing my mind, I threw in drum.
Okay.
And then I poured it out after I smelled it.
Drum's terrible.
Oh, it's horrid. Absolutely undrinkable whiskey, as far as I'm concerned.
Terrible whiskey. Anyway.
But point being is, I went in and did that, and my expectation was that I was going to know every whiskey dead on right away. Turns out grooves and scorched are closer than I expected. And it turns out the batch 2 Ardbeg 19, which I like better than batch 1, which we have here, side by side. I do not like that batch 2 when I put it in a comparison like this.
Okay, so give the good stuff. What was
But
better, the 22?
Bottom line was 22-1 and 25 was second. There was no third. It was such a gap. But this 19 was third. And then the rest of them were just kind of thrown together, and it was a little shocking.
Okay, so I'm ready to make an overall assessment of these whiskeys.
Go for it.
I'm going to say my favorite whiskey today, having all 5 of them together, for whatever that's worth, is the 22.
Okay.
The 25 is close. They're different whiskeys, though.
Completely.
Very, very different whiskeys. I'm not saying, but I'm talking as far as how good the whiskey is. The 22 and the 25 to me are the best whiskeys here. I would say the 22 is just a dash better, and I have no idea why. I mean, I can tell you why flavor-wise.
The fruitiness for me is
Right. I can tell you why flavor-wise. I feel it's a little bit more complex than the 25. Maybe I haven't had enough time with the 25, but I would say the 22 is my favorite. The 25 is second. And again, I cannot believe this. The 21 is third. The 23, which I assumed would be my favorite, is going to be my fourth. And then the 19. Where are you at?
Same.
Same?
I'm actually shocked.
Yeah.
I'm shocked.
Yeah. Again, what did I tell you? I said before we started this video, I bet I like the 23 the best. I like it. It's the least of the old distillate.
But you know what?
But I've never had them next to each other.
But you know what's shocking me here, Mike? I'm actually debating 21 over 25. I'm really close because I do not like this soapy note that comes in with the 25. And just so you guys know, full disclosure, the soapy note is on the bottle. Ardbeg says there's a soapy note here, so I'm not pulling this out of my butt, and I don't like it. I love everything else about the 25, but that slightly soapy note, and I'm going to see where their exact words are. But
I don't know if I call it soapy. It's waxy almost. Not Kleinlish waxy, but
carbolic soap and tar.
Tar, I would definitely give you that. But you're surprised at 21. I'm actually surprised how well the 21 did comparatively.
Today's my first time having it, so I actually kind of came in knowing that the 21 I liked a lot better than some of the stories I've heard about it. Mm-hmm. But I've always loved this 23, and I do think part of it is it needs a little time to open up. But I don't remember the 23 needing to open up. I think this is the second. Because I think last time you opened a 23, Mike, I had it pretty early on in its life. It hadn't really needed a lot of time.
I opened up, I probably opened up 2 or 3. I opened up one with Keith one time when we were Skyping with a guy. And I want to say you had that the next weekend or something like that, and we barely drank it.
Yeah, I mean, I remember like it was up to the top, so it was pretty fresh. And I remember just instantly the sherry notes were beautiful.
It was beautiful. I'm shocked it's the least of the old distillate.
And you know what? The 19, I got to say this, Mike. If it weren't for the finish on this thing, it would have a chance of contending with the others. The problem is that the finish, you just start getting that.
It's too sharp on this.
This sharp.
It's too sharp.
I'm okay with the sharpness on the nose.
It's too alcohol forward comparatively. These other ones here, these old distillate ones are just. One thing, I am very confident in saying the old Ardbeg distillate is far superior to the new distillate.
Yeah, well, I agree, but I'm telling you, the nose doesn't off-put me at all here. The alcohol is not the problem on the nose.
They've tried to dress up a inferior spirit coming off the new still with probably better casks for the majority of the time.
So the opening arrival, the mintiness, I get a little bit of chocolate, a little sherry. I'm really digging it. And then it all goes to hell.
Yeah, there's some
Everything
distillate.
after that, the distillate just starts. I think we've talked about this before, Mike. I don't have any reference here, but they've either lost oils and esters, they've filtered this with a more stringent filter, or this
Is
is
about the 19 here?
yes, or it's a wider cut.
Could be a wider cut. It feels like a wider cut.
It's one of those things. They've done something that's taken away texture and mouthfeel and added more alcohol ester, and it's subtle, it's gentle. If you aren't doing it next to these better whiskeys, I don't think you're going to pick up nearly as much as we're picking it up now.
Well, just like the 23. This is the first time I've ever thought like there's some off-putting notes in this 23-year-old.
Same.
I never thought that before
Negative
until I had it against all these other 20. I will say it. I assumed the 23 would be my favorite whiskey based on memory.
And you know what? On a Tuesday night, if I'm just pouring one glass of whiskey, 23 might be the answer.
I agree.
So I don't want to. Well, there's no loser here. Even the 19, which we're putting a little lower. And I think I'm a little higher. I'm actually thinking I'm more like a 91 on this 22. It's drinking so rich in the mouthfeel. And I'm probably a 90 on the 21, 3, and 5. I'm probably just giving them all a 90.
Yeah.
Now that said,
well,
90s. There's a range of 90s, and there's definitely better and worse.
I'm probably on the 22 is my favorite, and I'm probably at a 90 here. I'm probably at an 89 or 90 on the 25. I'm probably at an 88 on the 21. Probably at an 87 and a half on this, and probably about 85 on this. Roughly.
Yeah.
But I will say this: the only two whiskeys here that I can absolutely pick up off-putting notes is the 19 and the 23. These other ones I really don't think have too many off-putting notes. I know you said you don't like, a couple elements in the 25. I really don't think these ones have out, and especially these two, the 21 and the 22. Those are pretty well done whiskeys.
They're just clean,
beautiful.
I mean,
rich.
They remind me a lot of like what you'd expect. We talk about Kalila a lot, like how they're just such a clean, malleable spirit. These remind me of that. And remember, this distillate was sent off to Cheves to be used in their blend, so.
It's not their best foot forward.
That's what they were kind of aiming for, was malleable.
Yeah, malleable. Exactly. Well, good point.
Yeah. So I think they nailed that. When they did the sherry cask finishing, I guess they went for maybe kind of giving it a little bit more funk.
And whatever extra they did to that 22 really worked well.
Yeah, man.
It was the smallest outturn of the 21, 22, and 23. And I see now for good reason.
Yeah.
I mean, again, what they did here was just magic. Because I'm even maybe pick them on the 22, a little bit of that banana I talked about with the 21. A little bit,
I'm getting
banana pudding.
I'm getting every fruity, delicious candy I had as a kid, and with like a vanilla, like custard, slightly toasted oak barrel.
The 22 is a hit.
I'm looking for another bottle of this, Mike.
All right, so Dustin, those are our thoughts on it. Surprising.
Yeah, shocking.
We were going to do blind, but we figured we could be, good enough about just being straightforward about as far as what we were picking up.
Yeah, I mean,
taking our ego and what we paid for these bottles out of the equation.
Yeah, and truth be told, I don't think. I mean, at these price points, really, what is the difference in 450, 500, and 850?
They're expensive whiskeys.
They're all crazy expensive. They're all low proof for their price.
Yeah.
In short, they're all overpriced.
They're all overpriced.
But
if you're going to get the overpriced one, go with the 22.
Yeah.
21's still a gem.
Yeah, and you know what? The 21s, actually, you can find those out there for
$500
comparably fair prices.
Yeah, that's the cheapest one to find.
Yeah. The 22's gotten crazy. The 23 is stupid.
Oh.
And the 25 came out at retail for stupid, and now they're going for $1,700. I mean, or pounds.
Yeah, I would be.
I can't remember. They're going for crazy prices.
I definitely take these two over one of these.
Yeah, and you can buy two of these over one of these on the secondary right now.
All day. But the 23 is more expensive than both of these, and I disagree with that completely.
Today I do, but I'll tell you what. That sherry finish, if you want that in your whiskey.
It was good. Again, if you like Ugadil and you like sherry finished whiskey, you might gravitate towards the 23. I am just saying that as somebody who's an Ardbeg fan, and I really don't care, I'm just looking at how good of an Ardbeg it is. It is, of all of these four big ones, the old distillate, it's the least of them, man. It's not as good of a whiskey as the other two.
Yep.
I think maybe that's why they chose those to cover up with heavy sherry cask finish.
Yeah, that definitely could be it.
Yeah, that would be my guess. Anyway, those are our thoughts. Again, these are all the old Ardbegs we get our hands on. If you guys have had a chance to grab these, let us know what you think. I know our buddy over in Sweden, Prime Whiskey, did a similar comparison of like the 23, the 25, and like
the 19, the 10, and the 5.
Yeah, he didn't have the 22 and 21, which shit were the best two whiskeys. Here for me all day long. So take that for what it's worth. Anyway, we hope you found some value in this review. If you take a look at any of these old Ardbegs, until next time, Dustin, what do you wish the folks?
Happy drinking.
We'll see you then.